Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. It's your host, Mad Lads. We are buzzing as always, and I'm super pumped to have Armani Ferrante on the show today, founder and CEO of Backpack. You guys all know Backpack. Backpack ecosystem is just an absolute behemoth comprising of multiple companies, the creators of Backpack Wallet, Mad Lads NFT collection, the xNFT standard, and Backpack Exchange. You guys obviously know them. If you are dabbling in the Solana ecosystem, you're well aware of Backpack and the team. Before founding Backpack in April of 2022, he was the creator of Anchor, a groundbreaking developer tool that revolutionized programming on Solana and has become an integral part of numerous Solana projects and protocols, and bonding its commitments to simplifying the developer experience. Armani also graduated from UC Berkeley, that must have been a treat, with a degree in computer science, and before dedicating all his efforts into crypto and Web3, he worked for the one and only Apple, which I can't wait to get into, as a software engineer. Armani Ferrante, welcome to the show, my friend. Pumped to have you on. How are you? 13 hours ahead of me in lovely Tokyo, Japan.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Matt. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Happy to be here.
Thanks, man. Pumped to have you on. It's always wild having a guest on where it's like you're, getting ready for bed at 10 a.m. and it's 9 a.m. for me. I'm just, destroying coffees right now, trying to get the body booming, getting the brain working. It's crazy how that works. You didn't get a chance to go to Dubai last week, eh?
I did not know. Unfortunately, kind of have our heads down in the office, hunker down in Tokyo, pushing through our next milestone. We have a ton going on, tons of product to be released. We're growing fast, and so we did not have the pleasure of going to Dubai. I heard it was tons of fun, though.
It was good to be back. You remember that feeling in like 2021, early 2022 at the crypto conferences when it was like bull market feeling? Remember like the sort of the vibes and the buzz? It was so different.
2021 was special. Post-COVID conference mania was Bitcoin Miami, I think was the one for me. First big conference post-COVID. Yeah. That
was electric. NFT NYC, which was still almost sort of still COVID too, but also electric. Just some great conferences. The buzz was back. It's truly good to be back. When you're there in a bear market, it's just not the same. Everyone's a little down. Everyone's feeling a little poor. Companies aren't spending absurd amounts of money on food and drinks for you. Like it's just different, but good to be back, baby. Let's jump into it. Before we get into Backpack, which is a super app. And for those who, the term super app is a term, it's exactly what you'd think it is. It's literally just a super app. We don't have super apps in North America. There's really maybe sort of Facebook would be the biggest one in my opinion, perhaps. Uber's, launching products left, right, and center that is making it a little more super appy, but it's not like any of the WeChats or the many super apps that are available in Asia. Backpack is literally probably the front runner for a sort of non-full-on exchange. Mind you, it is an exchange, but it is the front runner for a super app in the Web3 space, and I can't wait to get into that. But before Backpack, let's learn a little bit about you, my friend. Tell us about your time at UC Berkeley. That must have been an absolute treat. I have one friend who went to UC Berkeley, and he said it was just incredible, a talent factory, just, great school, great parties, great nightlife, you name it. Obviously, you're in Cali. And then before jumping into Web3, you worked at Apple. Give us some stories from UC Berkeley, and you got to give us a couple stories from Apple, as everyone has a couple from working at one of the best, if not the best company in the world.
Sure. To be honest, I don't think I have many interesting stories from UC Berkeley because the majority of my time there was kind of just spent studying and going through that kind of gauntlet. I guess I have one interesting story. So the very first frat party I've ever went to was like one of the few I ever went to. I went there and I was talking to a girl. And she looks at me and she says, "Oh, what do you study or whatever?" And I told her kind of my major. And then when I told her that I was studying computer science, she says, "Oh, why are you here then?" So I think that maybe is a bit illustrative of the bifurcation at Berkeley between the people
hilarious.
that are studying that stuff versus the people that I guess are doing the other more fun things. No, Berkeley was great. I loved it. I loved it.
Who's laughing now though? Like you're building $1 billion company.
I don't know.
It's just Yeah.
That's all I got. I don't think there's anything interesting
I
about
still love that though.
life there. But
That's so good. Tell us about Apple. What about Apple? You must have a couple any stories about like work-life balance or like any of the crazy perks. I have a couple buddies from, the Toronto area who a lot of them who went to Waterloo, and then when you go to Waterloo, you get poached by, one of the FANG companies, well, not FANG anymore, but one of the big dogs in the Fortune 500, and they said the perks are absurd. Like, you're never paying for a meal, free Ubers to work, like you can sleep overnight in a pod. Like, tell us some stories from Apple.
Yeah, so Apple is actually relatively frugal compared to the benefits of other companies, because I think it was founded, like kind of a generation before the Googles and Facebooks of the world.
Gotcha.
But the cool thing about Apple is that you see a lot of celebrities going through it. So, for example, they have these parties that are once every couple months or whatever, where you'll have Stevie Wonder and like people like this come and they basically throw a private concert for the entire company, and you just get a bunch of like Lagunitas IPA on tap for the entire company.
Wow.
Just like keep them coming, and that was probably like one of the coolest parts of working there. You just get to see all these like incredible people that are just like playing these private concerts for you, and like you can see it directly from your office, and that's kind of a pretty special thing that I guess it's easy to take for granted. Yeah, just like really cool stuff like that, I suppose. When I was an intern there, I think one of the first times I was like starstruck was I remember seeing like there's obviously all the executives, which it's always kind of cool to see, especially when you're like just getting started in your career. But I remember like Stevie Ivine, the guy, one of the co-founders of Beats, the famous guy from the music industry, kind of walked by me when I was an intern, kind of presenting one of my projects to some of the folks there, and just like cool stuff like that. They're like small little experiences that it's kind of cool to witness when you don't know anyone and you're just you read about this stuff like on the internet or whatever, and it's kind of cool small little things.
Super cool. I mean, better than most people who get like, pizza lunch on Friday, or you get to leave work at 3 p.m. on Friday, get 2 hours off. Let's jump into Backpack and crypto and Web3. One of the things that you and the team have done that impressed me the most is sort of the vision. Like, a lot of people, and again, I never mean to speak down on anyone in the space. I'm on, team everybody wins here, and let's all get rich and successful and happy, healthy, wealthy together. But a lot of people have had the vision to create, these wide stretching crypto products, ecosystems, services that sort of, have many tentacles and touch a lot of different niches and parts and whatnot. And you guys had that vision and executed. You've done NFT launches, created massive, massive communities, a super app, which is, a wallet, full on exchange, NFTs, all in one, super easy, super simple to use. Like it's like Phantom. Like it's just a incredible product that's incredibly easy to use. Now, when you left Apple to sort of start this, was this the vision from the get-go? Like, I want to sort of jump in your brain for a second, for a lack of better terms, and if you could give us the story about like when you and the team were sitting down being like, what are we going to do with this? Like, was it just let's launch NFTs to start, fuck it, or was it let's do the whole kit bam and caboodle, let's do it all at once? What was the workflow? What was the thinking? What was the whole process like of actually going from 0 to 1?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think when you're on podcasts like this and you give interviews like this, it's funny because normally there's this like reverse engineered story that's very romantic and beautiful and makes a great movie or whatever. Yeah. But I feel like at least my process has always been much more analogous to kind of, I guess, hill climbing would be the way I think about it. So hill climbing is a reference to kind of a way of like algorithmically finding the optimum of a specific kind of like curve you're trying to optimize or whatever. But the point is that I think it's much. My experience has been much less about like having this really grand vision and executing on it, and much more about like thinking about, well, what's the general like set of problems I want to solve, and then slowly but surely over a long period of time, like iterating your way to like solving some of those problems, and that leads you into new paths, and some of those paths they're good and some of those paths they're bad, but you get lucky along the way, and eventually you end up in a reasonable spot. And I think that's kind of like at a very high level kind of has been the journey. When I left Apple, I had no plan other than I thought Ethereum was like the coolest thing in the world. I thought the kind of concept of a world computer, decentralized, permissionless, unforgeable, blockchain was just like
Sounds pretty, yeah.
just caught my imagination. I thought,
Sounds
okay, I
sexy.
just want to go work on this. That's it. I had no plan. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a startup lined up, and I just knew I wanted to be part of it. That's it. It's as simple as that, and kind of just figured out my kind of way from there. And took a bunch of windy kind of roads to kind of end up where we are today. Worked at a bunch of different companies, different projects, contributed to different open source. And, I think really one of the first things that I think really started to get real momentum, I worked on a bunch of cool stuff, I think, in crypto before, but the first thing that really got momentum was the couple of contributions to the Solana network when it's first started taking off. So I came to Solana in 2020 after working on a bunch of stuff in crypto. And it was really that growth of the Solana ecosystem that I was able to start finding kind of my way and start finding important problems that I felt like needed to be solved and that I had the ability to solve. Things, there's obviously DeFi and wallets, but it was really like working on developer tooling and on smart contracts that first started to get those contributions first started to get traction, and it was really from there that a bunch of doors started opening, and from there I was able to obviously create a company and hire incredible people and get funding and get the resources that are required to create a business, and so that's kind of I guess I maybe some of the path to where we are today, but yeah.
That's super cool. Why the jump in, I mean, present day, if someone's like, hey, you're building an ecosystem, pick a chain. So like Solana's it's a no-brainer nowadays. Like it's definitely very well could be the favorite. And without a doubt in the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No questions asked, not up for debate. In 2020 though, I mean, that was, before the crazy SBF tweet being like, I'll buy all your, effing Sol at whatever it was, $2.75 or $3. Like, not a lot of people knew what Sol was at the time. How did you learn about Sol? Why make the jump? Because back then, like, I mean, it was going down all the time. There was tons of issues. Like, why the jump back in 2020? That must have been a huge risk for you.
So I had come so I left my job in 2017 in Apple, and I was basically, I got into Ethereum, and during that time, there was a ton of hype. There was a big bull cycle, and very quickly everybody realized that this thing doesn't scale to meet the demands of a world computer, and so all these L1s basically got funded out of that bull cycle. You had Avalanche and obviously Solana, and a million L1s. It seems got started. Dfinity, Oasis, etc. And it was really out of that kind of desperation for a scalable blockchain that many in the industry, including myself, started searching for new architectures and new blockchains and new ecosystems to meet the demands of like a new generation of crypto applications. And so I got started basically 2018 looking for new L1s. And there was a bunch of them that I basically did a bunch of research on. Some of them I joined, and it was in obviously 2020. I learned about Solana. That was when FTX started getting into the ecosystem, and it was off the back of DeFi summer, and the whole idea of order books on chain was really exciting, and that was kind of Anatoly's like original vision, which is just like let's build a parallel financial system and do it at a scale that no other L1 has done before. And I thought that was a really compelling vision, and it was kind of the first L1 to have at least an order of magnitude increase in throughput and latency, and it seemed like a no-brainer. So it was a multi-year long kind of process before eventually finding Solana, but the problem was like pretty clear, and it was kind of one of many kind of L1s that were trying to find a solution, and it was the first one I was able to actually build on that met some of these requirements.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nowhere. I mean, not even in like 10 arenas close to you in regards to the tech side of blockchain. But even just like the degen stuff like DeFi and shitcoining on Solana versus ETH is like, I mean, everyone's talking about, oh, base summer. It's like, dude, have you tried to use it? Like, have you actually tried to mess around on, on one of the soul dexes or soul order books, whatever, versus anything base or ETH related?
A really simple way to think about it is as follows. Just imagine you're using your computer, you're on your MacBook or whatever. Would it be okay if you had one window open or if you had one application open? If you're using Chrome, imagine if you couldn't use Spotify. Like that would just be like a non-starter, right? You would never buy that computer.
No.
Right. And that, we have, hyper-threading and multi-core processing now and computers are fast and all that fun stuff. But that's basically the analogy, right? And so obviously you are going to use blockchains and runtimes that are multi-threaded, that have parallelism, so to speak. And so, any type of sequential processing is going to be insufficient for kind of the demands of a world computer. And so that's why you have Solana and Sui and Monad and all these kind of next generation blockchains that are coming up, because I think to a lot of people, it's kind of self-evident that you'll have parallel runtimes in any run, other than maybe Bitcoin and like Dogecoin and some of these blockchains. To me, it's kind of obvious that any runtime that's not parallel will eventually be replaced by a parallel runtime. And it's like, there's nuance there. Celestia and these data availability layers are kind of different animals, but nevertheless, I think that's like a basically an easy way to think about it.
Yeah, good analogy there. Armani, if you could, and this is strictly for the listeners here, if you could just, because again, I get asked this all the time and I can't explain this anywhere close to as good as you can, but I'd love if you could give just a quick sort of elevator pitch primer on the pros and cons of ETH versus Sol, or Solana versus Ethereum, rather, not the coins, but the ecosystems. I get asked this all the time and I do my best of explaining it, but again, I would love to hear it from a pro like yourself, if you don't mind giving us the goods there.
Yeah, so I think from the things that most people care about is they care about speed.
Yeah.
When I click a button, how long does it take for that thing to complete?
Yep.
They care about security, right? What's the odds of me getting hacked? Am I going to lose all my money? And then they care about the applications. And that's really the main thing they care about. It's like, what are the things that I can do here that I can't do anywhere else? And I think obviously it's kind of an apples to oranges comparison at the moment. You can't really just say Ethereum. When you say Ethereum, you really have to talk about all of the L2s as well, because Ethereum has really pivoted away from being a world computer and is now this settlement layer for all the L2s. So you have to say, okay, well, what's the difference between kind of base and optimism and arbitrum and fuel and all these things in aggregate put together and compare that against Solana. And there are some things that people will care a bunch about, and there are some things that people will not care about at all. But maybe starting with the former, the main thing that's going to be very different is going to be people use the term composability, but it basically boils down to your ability to use one blockchain, one piece of state for all of your applications. So like here's one way to think about it. You imagine on your iPhone, you have all these apps, and if you use Venmo, when you want to use Venmo, the first thing that you do is you deposit from your bank account into Venmo. And then, and so there's that first step. And then once you're in there, then you can use Venmo. And that is kind of like the Ethereum experience, where you had this, two-step process where you had to first bring state from your bank account into your Venmo app and then use Venmo to pay your friends. And so that's kind of like the Ethereum L2 kind of approach, which is you have to do these like bridges from a state from one place to another, whether you're depositing tokens or NFTs or whatever. And if you're using something like Solana, you basically eliminate that step because Venmo is using the same state as Bank of America or Chase or whatever. So there's no kind of like deposit step. You just use it. And that's what you get from composability, is that you have all of the state that is together. And so that's kind of, at least from an application point of view, like maybe one way to think about it. Now there's a bunch of nuance here. People are trying to solve this and eliminate eliminate that Venmo deposit step with all this stuff like chain abstraction. But there's a bunch of trade-offs for stuff like that as well. And I think a lot of that stuff still to be proven and tech that still needs to be built out. I mean, there's a bunch of nuanced conversation around it. But I think as of right now, that's kind of like the main difference in the user experience. And in practice, there's a bunch of challenges around this. And you see this with a lot of people that use Coinbase, for example.
Yep.
They will deposit money from one L2 into Coinbase, but they actually meant the other L2, but the deposit address is the same. And so the reality is much less elegant than that deposit flow that I described, which is actually, Venmo works kind of nicely. There's a lot more warts in the user experience currently that you have to deal with as a result. But I think that's kind of the crux of it. And, there's a bunch of details and stuff that you can go into in Bike Shed and stuff. But I think that's really the main thing when you talk about an L2 centric roadmap versus a single global state machine roadmap. And that's kind of the difference.
Well said. Very well said. Armani, we're going to take a quick break. Give a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show. And when we get back, we are going to get into everything backpack related. Of course, we'll jump into Mad Lads and Anchor as well. Until then, huge shout out to PrimeXBT, longtime friends and sponsors of the CryptoNews.com podcast. We love the team at PrimeXBT as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet, you can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. PrimeXBT is also offering innovative and exclusive trading products and conditions to all customers. The promo code, if you would like to use it, is CryptoNews50. That is CryptoNews50 to receive an exclusive promo code from PrimeXBT. Again, that is CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And now back to the show with Armani. Let's jump into the star of the show, which is Backpack. You guys, again, have created a super app, which is not easy to do. Could you, just to sort of lay the land here, just to give everyone a little reference point and a little bit more knowledge so they can sort of, design what happened in their own mind here. When you explain Backpack and Mad Lads and, of course, the exchange, could you also go through the chronological order in which things happened? Because a lot of NFT launches were nonsensical and had zero utility. And I mean, 99.9% of them. Yours is one of the few that still has a full-on community that really, truly cares, with tons of products, tons of just alpha given as well. A lot of value at the end of the day. I'd love if you could just walk us through the founding story and sort of the chronological order, and then we'll get into some of the fun stuff here.
So there's obviously what Backpack is today, and there's what started with and how we kind of got to where we are. Maybe for folks that have never heard of Backpack, Backpack is you could think of it as your financial super app for crypto. Anything that you want to do in crypto, quite literally, can be done inside of Backpack, or that's the goal. The easiest way to buy crypto, the easiest way to use any blockchain, the easiest way to use any dApp, the easiest way to use any kind of financial instruments in this kind of new frontier, this parallel financial system that's being built on crypto rails. Backpack is one of the few apps that will truly allow you to use any part of the crypto ecosystem, whether it's through the exchange, whether it's through the Solana wallet, whether it's through the Ethereum wallet, or whether it's through any of the multiple networks that we are adding support for kind of in real time right now. That's kind of the idea. And we didn't start here. We kind of started originally when we were kind of building it behind this kind of concept of xNFTs, and that led into Mad Lads. And maybe without going into the whole xNFT kind of conversation, the Mad Lads project was really built out of many things, right? There's obviously the community aspect, there's all the hype and all the drama that comes with NFTs. I think we're a pretty different project in the sense that we're not a hype machine. I'm sure we love good hype and we love good marketing like anybody else, but we're at the end of the day, we like to build products and we like to build experiences, and we like to make things and bring them into the world for people to use. And so Mad Lads has really just been an incredible test bed for us to build stuff. And nowhere is that better illustrated than through the Mad Lads Mint experience, where people basically, they see this project and they think it's a regular NFT, but there was a ton that went into something as simple as generating the whitelist. We literally built a bunch of games through the wallet that gave you the opportunity to even mint the NFT.
That was wild. I remember that.
So, it was like a bunch of stuff, right? We did like Minecraft, puzzle hunts. We did AI generated images where you would have to guess the prompt that generated them. We found this catalog of animals that were making noises and you'd have to guess. And we built all these games into the wallet. We had this like kind of speed running like Space Invader moon game thing. And so you would open up the wallet and you'd play these games. And if you would beat the game, you would basically get a whitelist for the NFT project. So it was really this game that you basically had to play where you had to earn the whitelist. And so, even something as small as our as the whitelist distribution for the mint was something that was very different than every NFT project, or not every, but a lot of them. Basically, there's a very large graveyard of NFT projects that did not make a compelling story or whatever. And it was kind of this like really awesome kind of combination of building new product and telling interesting stories with beautiful art that I think made the Mad Lads experience special. But at the end of the day, every NFT holder, they have two products. They have a wallet and they have an exchange account. And so it's just been a great way to build a company and to build products where we have, a passionate group of users that love to try the stuff that we build. And some of it, I think, has been quite useful for them. And it's been a bunch of fun.
Yeah, it's just an incredible story. I mean, I love seeing people win, and especially, the NFT boom was so much fun. And you guys are literally like one of the 10, 20, 30 companies that actually still have utility. So we love to see that. And then if you could also tie in, again, Mad Lads started and people didn't really know what kind of utility they'd be getting with the backpack ecosystem. How did backpack grow to become so large to get fully in, not the cabal for lack of better words, but like in this scene in Solana? Every single new protocol, ecosystem, company, exchange, blah, 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 that comes out, you guys partner with them right away. It's almost like instantaneous. And then obviously you guys list really popular coins like Mew. Congrats on the Mew launch, by the way. How did this all happen? Like, are you contacting them? Are they contacting you? Like, how did you guys, was it just classic, I forget whose quote this is, but it's like build things and people will come. Like, did you guys, was it really just as cliche as that? You guys just built some really good shit and then people came? Was that all it was?
Yes, I would say certainly not. I mean, there was certainly a bunch of efforts, I guess, behind the scenes.
Of course, yeah.
To get things like listings. I mean, the crazy part about all the stuff that we built is that there's no single like talent or individual you can really ascribe it to. It's really just been a crazy mix of unique talents that have each contributed really interesting insights and experiences that have allowed us to do different things. The exchange is a totally different beast from the wallet, which is a totally different beast from the community, which is a totally different beast from developer tooling and crypto native kind of builders. And so I think we're just really lucky in the sense that we have a ton of really incredible people that have honestly just been firing all cylinders. But to be like very concrete, I think what's really unique about what we're able to do is that we have all these different components that can work together in unique ways. So obviously, the exchange is really interesting because the exchange is the top of funnel for all of crypto. A centralized exchange in particular is the top of funnel for all of crypto. It's the place where the best fiat ramps. It's the place with the best liquidity. It's the place with the best user experience. It's the easiest thing to use. And so it's really this incredible starting point. It's why exchange listings are really so important for most projects.
Yeah.
It's because it has the largest distribution channel. It's the largest top of funnel for a token project, and by proxy for the rest of the crypto economy. But what's really great about Backpack is not only do we have the exchange where you can list the token and get access to all these users, but we also have the wallet. And so we can do these like awesome experiences like what we did with Tensor, for example, where not only do you use the exchange, not only do you trade on the exchange, but hey, also go download Backpack Wallet, go to Tensor's marketplace, go buy an NFT, go try out these awesome products that are being built fully on chain. And break out of the Web2 bubble. And so it's a very nice handoff where we can hold the user's hands from the exchange to the wallet and guide them through these Web3 experiences. But it doesn't stop at the wallet. When you have Mad Lads, which at this point is kind of its own kind of beast, it's grown and blossomed into kind of being a kind of standalone community that's earned a lot of value kind of just by virtue of just how incredible the people inside of the community are. When you have that third element, then it all kind of comes together in a magical way, because now not only do you have that entire top of funnel distribution into the wallet and into the dApp, but you also have a test bed of users that are going to very actively try your product. They're going to give you feedback, whether it's brutal or not, and they're going to shout from the rooftops, telling the world everything that they did as this incredibly ravenous marketing engine. What's been, I think, really special about the Backpack story is that all of these pieces have been able to come together, I think, in a really unique way. Like the products themselves, each constituent component is not unique, right? There's been a bunch of NFT projects. There's been a bunch of wallet projects. There's been a bunch of exchanges, right? And similarly, like with an iPhone, right? There was lots of phones before. There was lots of browsers before. There was other app stores before. But Apple was able to bring it all together in a really unique a way that created this magical experience. And not to be, just tying it back to the beginning of the conversation, I think we certainly aren't at the Apple level, but I think we've been able to tie these kind of constituent components together in a really unique way, honestly, in a way that no other crypto company has done before. So it's been kind of our flavor. It's our kind of, unique kind of contribution thus far. And I think that's been one of the main reasons behind a lot of the success. It's a bunch of incredible pieces, a bunch of incredible people, an incredible community kind of coming together. And so, yeah, I don't know, that's maybe one perspective and lens to look at the story through.
It's been wild and well deserved, and everyone loves you guys, and there's a good reason for that. Mate, we are getting a little tight for time. A couple more questions here. What does the future of sort of crypto look to you from? Again, you guys are very big on the consumer standpoint, which I love. Tons of companies come in and just focus on B2B. Obviously, most of the money in the world is in the B2B space, but in order for B2B to really pop off, you need consumers, you need customers, and that would be on the B2C side of things, which you guys are doing. What does the future of B2C crypto look like? Is it multiple super apps like Backpack that, have everything blocked and loaded under one hood, super easy to use, clean UI, clean UX, clean, simple, sexy? Does it look like something else? I'd love if you could just walk us through what sort of the future of the consumer side of crypto, just apps and in general, looks like.
So I think ultimately there are very large network effects for liquidity and for these really liquidity hubs that come into the world. And in particular in crypto, we've seen historically that with every bull cycle, there's these new liquidity hubs that get created. Whether it's Binance one cycle or obviously the now infamous and notorious FTX. But I think ultimately these liquidity hubs form and they create capital efficiency, where the optimal thing for you to do is to be able to get access to that liquidity for novel things. And if you think about really what's happening in crypto, it's all about making money 10 times better in a bunch of different ways. 10 times faster, whether you want to transfer money all around the world and do it instantaneously, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. Whether you want to do 10x less with 10x less error, right? That make sure that any ledger entry is correct and provably correct with cryptography, and it's not some person making some human error with some a weird kind of Web2 database that was built in the 50s or whatever. I don't know. Or whether it's fair and honest and censorship resistant, and you have 10x the amount of trust. And ultimately, crypto is providing all of these benefits to financial transactions. right? Where when you look at state, when you look at a balance, when you look at, a piece of art and a record of ownership, when you look at the scoreboard for a game, you look at all this data and you can prove to yourself with math that data is correct. And so when you kind of have these things come together, you are creating this, 10 times better economy that can power all different parts of the world. And so I think, up until crypto, you've had this tension where, on the one hand, you have people building this like parallel financial system, people working on DeFi, people creating crypto native assets and, NFTs and building this parallel system. But then you also have kind of the centralized exchange that's kind of in the middle of both of these worlds, where on the one hand, you have the parallel financial system, and on the other hand, you have the traditional kind of economy. And so it's really that centralized exchange component, and I hope what we can do with Backpack that can kind of bring these worlds together and basically bring crypto to every part of traditional finance in a way that I think a lot of folks have been pushing for, and honestly just feels inevitable. And so a lot of it is, on the one hand, kind of a lot of the boring bread and butter that the industry was built on, verifiability of data, immutability, auditability, speed and latency of global transactions, and banking the unbanked, and connecting all these people that previously were not connected into kind of traditional financial systems, and doing it kind of in a way that can, to use like the Coinbase or Kraken terms, update kind of the financial system or whatever. And I think that's like more or less correct. It's just, doing that on the scale of every person on the planet is, a multi-year long problem, multi-decade long problem that I don't think any single individual or company will do by themselves. And so I ultimately think kind of what's the future of crypto? It's kind of, bringing this stuff to every financial transaction around the world in a way that basically, 10x's all the metrics that you care about when interacting with any type piece of financial processing.
Absolutely love it. Armani, absolute treat having you on. Your ability to distill crazy complex topics is just awesome. And this was a great episode. I know we barely scratched the surface, and look forward to having you on for round 2. Until then, wishing you and the team all the best. And before we let you go, please let us know where listeners can find you personally and everything Backpack related, whether that is Backpack Exchange, Wallet, Mad Lads NFT, Anchor. Plug yourself and all of your companies before we let you go.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you can obviously find us on Twitter. It's probably one of the best places, at Backpack, and then, at my name, at Armani Ferrante, if you want to follow me personally. And then obviously all the products, if, we have it available in your local country, go to backpack.exchange. And then if you want to go download the apps, backpack.app/downloads, we'll have everything that you need. So those are some pretty good starting points.
Amazing. Armani, appreciate your time, my friend. Treat of an episode, and can't wait to have you on for round 2.
Great. Thanks so much.
Folks, what an episode with Armani Ferrante, founder and CEO of Backpack. Folks, we got into a little bit of everything. Solana, ecosystem, super apps, and crypto. One of my favorite segments of the show was the hill climbing business mindset. That was an absolute lovely knowledge bomb. Of course, Mad Lads NFT, Solana versus ETH, multi-threaded and parallel blockchains, a little bit of everything. We love to see it. Huge shout out to Armani and the team for making this happen. If you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope you did, please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys. Thank you for everything. Eustace, you are the man. And back to the listeners, love you guys. Keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Bye for now. Talk to you guys soon.